All right, D. McClung. Arthur Monologues. I'm not hitting on all 6 cylinders today. Some disorder of some sort going on. Might have got a bug, virus, who knows? I don't know. At any rate, I'll do the best I can, but just know I'm not feeling great. All right? I feel kind of good, parts of me, but generally speaking, I'm just a little off today. But that doesn't mean my brain's not working, and that's something interesting in that, because a lot of people, they're a little off every day. Seriously. If you just anytime, day or night, any day of the week, you run across people that are just like totally off, like perhaps just a little bit off, but still off. And they're pretty consistent. It's like every day. No matter when you see them, no matter when you run across them, they're off. And what do I mean by that? I mean that, unlike me, I'm just feeling a little poorly, but I'm not going to die, at least as far as I know at the moment. Everything is just a little out of whack, and I'm just off my best heel at this point. But a lot of people are just off all the time. Like, no matter when you see them or whenever you talk to them, and I see this by observation. Okay, observation. I observe people. I observe people like on the internet, Facebook and Google Plus and other places, social media, and they're a little off, and they're almost always a little off, which is as an observation. Now, let me just explain this. Critical, analytic observations. Now, when I say that, I don't mean just casual, everybody, every day, anybody, no matter what kind of person they are, just seeing something or looking at something. How many people, you think, would say, read a news article in a paper or on the internet, or watch a video about the news and say, hey, that's just god awful, that's just disgusting and terrible and so on. And then some people just get all up in arms. It's like, oh, god damn, man, I kill these people, I kill that person, I cut off his balls and put him into the prison and shit and everything. And it's terrible, and he should be like fucked in the ass by every prisoner in the prison and stuff, because he should be in prison because he's like did something like probably like something natural, like talk to somebody. You know what I'm saying? The laws are insane in America. The world is insane, but America is insane. And Americans are insane. Oh, almost all of them, practically. And I've observed a lot of people over the years, and on the internet primarily, in real life too, and that critical analytic observation thing, which is not just some casual looking around and seeing something. It's not like, oh, I just happened to be walking down the street and I saw a dog in the yard taking a shit. That's not critical analytic observations. Not unless you want to get into what kind of dog it was and why he was taking a shit at that particular time in that particular yard, which, as it turns out, wasn't his yard but the neighbor's yard. And the neighbor was on the porch yelling at the dog, get off my yard, quit shitting in my yard. And you get into all the details about that, and as it turns out, the dog was shitting in the yard because if he shit in his own yard, his master would beat him severely. And so I'm not doing that anymore. I'll go over to the neighbor's. So that's silly. I shouldn't have even brought that up. Anyway, as an example. But anyway, looking is one thing. Seeing is another. Seeing is in the mind. Looking is with the eyes. It's the eyes are tools to gather information, data that you can visualize. Light reflecting off color, and you see it in your head because the data is absorbed into the eyes, goes through the gateways to the brain, and that part in the brain, that what some people call the third eye, is where you actually see things, because the data is all sent up there and like streamed through the channels of your eyeballs and your optic nerves and so on. It goes in your brain, and your brain puts all this information in together, and then it comes up with a picture, an image. And this picture might be something you are looking at in reality. Like I'm sitting here right now looking at my monitor, or I'm looking at a cup of tea I'm drinking on. Yes, like my morning tea. My data in my head says, there's a cup of tea, and it's steaming hot, and it's delicious. And but my eyeballs are just observing the data of the form and light reflecting off of the object, which is a cup. So what I'm saying here is this. Looking is the process of absorbing or gathering information. Seeing is the process of actually putting that data together in the brain and putting it in some order whereby it can be recognized as something as opposed to nothing. That is to say, it's a cup as opposed to it's not a cup. If the cup's not there, and you see it in your head, then you're delusional. Which is a mental illness, by the way. A form of insanity. So, what I was thinking when I started this episode was that, and I had read something, and I had seen some videos on YouTube that were disturbing, and to me, and I would think disturbing to anybody, any sane, rational, civilized human being at least. And it was a story about an event involving people that did bad, terrible things, and people suffered and people died as a result. I'm not going to give you the details because I don't want to actually think about this any more than I have to. I watched it, I absorbed that information, and my brain is like, ew, yuck, and terrible, evil, disgusting, awful. And I don't want to get into any of my personal traits, emotional situations. I don't want to get into that. That's not the point. At another time, perhaps. Oh, definitely at another time. But at any rate, I saw it. I watched it. I got the information. It was in my brain, and it's not going to go away. I doubt very seriously if it's ever going to go away. And it was, oddly enough, is that the news, it was about a news article. It was about something that actually happened at some point back in the 60s. And I remember reading about that back in the 60s. I believe I read about that in 1966 or thereabouts. And I was about 65. I said it was done. It occurred in 65, but I read about it, I thought, in 65 or even 64. So it could be a different story. But at any rate, it sounds very similar. And all the details sound exactly like what I read about. In a paperback book with some intrigue when I'm pretty sure I was around 15. There may be some question about me at 15 reading that story. It was grotesque. It may have warped my mind. Who knows? I don't think so. because I was an intelligent person back then as well. It's not like, oh, well, I just, was alive and born and raised and grew up and matured and became a man and then got older and then I become a mature human being and then all of a sudden, bingo, my brain started working. That's not usually the way it works. Usually, if you're born, your brain's working at a pretty good level, normal, sane, rational, logical. And you gather information and you grow and mature and you become a child, an adolescent, and an adult. And unfortunately, a senior citizen. Well, if you're lucky, you get to be a senior citizen. Otherwise, you're dead. But you know what I'm saying. It's unfortunate that you have to live for like 60, 70 years and you have to be old even though you're not. I mean, you don't want to be. I'd rather be a young 69. I'd rather be a 40-year-old, 69-year-old. And in my head, maybe I am, right? But you don't just become intelligent or a genius, like bingo, like, oh, wow. Like lightning struck like 10 miles away from your house and all of a sudden, bingo, and it's a miracle, I'm intelligent now. Pretty good chance if you're not intelligent by the time you're 10 or 12, you're never going to be intelligent. And I say 10 or 12 is an arbitrary number. I could have said 4 or 2. Because intelligence is, I'm sorry, but for you who don't agree with this, you're just not thinking. And I'm not going to say any more about that. But if you're an intelligent person, you've been intelligent all of your life. The brain either works or it doesn't. It doesn't just... for example, there's no cure for stupid. So if you're born and you were stupid when you were born, and you're born and you were stupid when you were 10 and 20 and 30, guess what? You're going to stay that way. You're not going. There's no miraculous cure for brain damage. In other words, if you have an IQ of 50, that might vary a little bit between 48 and 51, but you're not going to have an IQ of 160. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And I've read stories, fiction stories, by the way, science fiction, let's say, where, the guy got like really smart because he took a pill or because he, was in one of those fantasy movies that somebody made up in their imagination because, it's not going to happen in reality. It's just not going to happen. Sorry. So a lot of people walking around and are like got IQs of average, like 90, 100, somewhere in there. Average, normal, whatever. Normal? No. Not very smart. So overall, and this is my critical analytic conclusion. All right, call it a critical analytic observation, is that most people just don't rise above a certain level of intellect. And I think there's a certain percentage of geniuses, or genius-I, as I like to say. 7% of the population might be in a genius level, or above average, to some degree. Then a lot of people are less average and below average. When I talk to people or when I observe people when they say stuff, and like when they post stuff on Facebook and Google Plus and various other places, social media, and they say stuff, and Twitter and so on, they say stuff, and it's just, and what's interesting about a lot of this is that I go to these websites and I read the social media stuff and so on, and a lot of these news outlets, whether they're the mainstream media or even I used to go to Yahoo News every day, and got really frustrating. But there were comments made, and I joined in and made some comments, which were rational, logical, intelligent things to say, but other people didn't quite grasp that. And most of the comments were just disgusting, not intelligent, pathetic, in fact, like hate and arguing and bickering like 4-year-olds. It's just sad. Very sad. So I kind of limit myself in that regard now. I do read the comment sections a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to read some comment section that's on some article that's got like 7,000 comments. I'm not going to waste my time reading all 7,000. I'll pick out a couple of the first 2 or 3 or a dozen or whatever, kind of browse through and see what's going on, what people are saying, and then, like, let's say 10. The first 10, pretty much disgust me, because the first 10 comments about whatever the article was are stupid comments. I'm entitled to my opinion. Yeah, well, guess what? If your opinion is wrong, then maybe you're not entitled to it. Sorry about that, but maybe not. Yeah, I know freedom of speech is cool, and I'm all in favor of that, and I think it's great. And if people are stupid and they want to make a comment, exercise your freedom of speech. Good, go for it. But unfortunately, when I read it, I'm going to say, what a fucking idiot that guy is. He couldn't be more wrong. I mean, what kind of brain does this guy have? He's a freaking IQ of like 12 or something. But obviously he can type or text and put things on the freaking comment section. So, and then I read the article and I say, wait a minute, the article doesn't say anything about whatever he's talking about. Where does he get this nonsense? There's nothing to do with what the article was. Or the article was just totally stupid, like the comments. And fake news and all that. Yeah, we're hearing about the fake news now, right? I wonder who came up with the idea of fake news. You know what? I think, most of us intelligent people who know things are not true and know that when somebody's lying and know when the facts don't line up with the story, we are not stupid. And we're clear. We understand. But you just, how do I say this? All right, it's like this. Why is it that all these, let's say out of the first 10 comments, 9 of them are like totally stupid comments and are totally, well, some of them are just totally not even relevant to whatever the article was about. And most of those comments, let's say the first 9 out of 10 comments are hate. I hate that person. I hate this. I hate that. I hate. Kill him. Torture him, rape him, kill him, torture him, murder him, kill him, cut him up into little pieces. And, that's the mentality of Americans today? Really? How have we degraded ourselves to, apparently, at least in America, as far as I can tell, and other countries as well, but America is like, Americans have become like so dumb. And how did that happen? I mean, is it always been that way? Has it always been that 9 out of 10 people are like totally hateful, disgusting, evil, stupid, retarded, sicko bastards? I mean, seriously, 9 out of 10? Really? Now, we have to be honest. If we're going to do a survey about the people in the comment section, we're going to have to admit that not everybody makes a comment. There's an article on the internet, and like, let's say there's a video of a news event is posted on YouTube, and 1.5 million people see it and watch it, and 5% of the people might make a comment. The other 95% are like, okay, fine. And they move on. They might even have an opinion, and they might even say it out loud to themselves in their home or wherever they might be. And then they move on. And they don't, get all hung up on hate and start arguing with other people that have watched the video and maybe made a comment. But, when I look down the list of comments and the first 9 out of 10 are like full of hate, and I think when you want to judge people on that basis, you can't judge people. Guess what? Yes, I can, and if you don't, you're a fool. And that's probably that's one of the first things I learned as a child, was my parents saying to me, make good judgments. Judge your friends carefully, because some of your friends might not be good for you. They might not be, in your best interest to be friends with them. They might hurt you. So make good judgment when it comes to choosing your friends. So, excuse me. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me. It's part of being a human being is exercising your ability to make judgments, not just about situations and ideas, but about people. And the socialist mindbenders, the Neocon Socialist Alliance mindbenders of the collective agenda, want us to give up that natural ability or that inherent instinctive capacity for making judgments. Now, they have a theory about it, and the theory's kind of okay. That don't judge people, based on the color of their skin, or because they're a woman as opposed to a man, or because they're their body weight, their body shape is just not, perfect. Let's not judge people. Let's not judge them and say, "Oh, you're fat." Let's not be hateful. So I understand the concept. I understand the premise behind this idea is that let's not judge people badly in a mean-spirited way. And why? Because it might offend them. Well, just between you and me, I don't give a fuck. If you're that shallow and that easily hurt by the truth or by somebody else's opinion, then, you got a problem. And it's not my problem. You got a problem. Toughen up. Get a life. Okay, so you're fat, and I use the word fat not as a slur. I use it as a description of your physical condition. You're fat, as opposed to skinny. I mean, there's the words mean what they mean. You can't be 6 foot tall and weigh 110 pounds and be called fat. I mean, you're not. There's no physical way that can be true. On the other hand, if you're 5'2" and you weigh 380 pounds, you're fat. Now, how you got to be that way, that's beside the point. You wake up one day and you find out, I weigh 3 times as much as any human being should. No, it's not the way it works. So anyway, it happens. Now, there are people that gain weight for medical reasons, and that's understandable. And if you want to be honest about it, don't judge them either. But at the same time, I'm sorry, but I'm looking at somebody who weighs 3 times what a normal human being would be. Normal human beings don't weigh 380 pounds. They just don't. It's not normal. It's not healthy. And it's not attractive. Now, when I say not attractive, I guess someone's going to say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. No. That's bullshit. And whoever came up with that idea, it was an idiot. That if you want to accept that as some sort of mantra to go by, live by, then you're an idiot, because that's just not true. And I speak here as an artist, a professional, expert artist person on this subject. I'm not going to give you a definition of beautiful or what is beauty. That's not my job. However, I can tell you that there are certain criteria that an intelligent person will use to come to a conclusion on whether something is beautiful or not. And it's relative. You might even say it is, what's that word? You got objective and subjective. As an artist, I use both subjective and objective thinking in order to present the message or to present the visual or literary work of art. So a photograph which today's world is mostly digital, is an example of expressing an idea. So, if you don't judge people, then how are you going to determine if those people are good for you, or decent people, or people you want to be around, or even people you want to agree with or disagree with? For example, George W. Bush is not a good person. There is no criteria that will lead you to conclude that he's a good person, because there's nothing good about the man's existence. He is pure evil. That's not even an opinion. That's just an observation that any human being with, any kind of freaking brain cells working, as they should be, would come to. You can't come to any other conclusion than that. I mean, I don't care. His wife might, he's a nice guy, if she believes that her husband is a nice guy, then she's just as sicko in the head as he is. But he's got a couple of kids, and like, oh, Dad, I love him. He's a good guy. He's president and everything. He was president, And if you don't, if those children did not grow at some point to the point of saying to themselves, my father murdered people. He's a fucking murderer. He committed crimes against humanity. If they don't come to that conclusion, they're retarded, brain damaged, and insane, like their father. So, I'm sorry. I mean, family, no excuse. If you got a brain and it's not thinking like with the facts and the evidence in front of your fucking face, I'm just going to deny the fact that my father was like a torturer and a murderer and committed genocide. Just going to ignore all that because he's my dad. Yeah, he's a good dad because he never fucked me in the ass when I was 12. Think about that. All right. So, I'm just saying, it absolutely boggles my mind how people can just totally block out reality from their brain and their consciousness. And then, George Bush is a good guy. By the way, I didn't vote for him. I did vote to convict him of crimes against humanity, and I did vote to have him, pay the price for that, which is, as you well know, well, let's just put it this way, the same as that guy, Saddam Hussein, when, he was convicted of crimes against humanity. I think people that are convicted in a fair trial, I don't know if Saddam Hussein was actually convicted in a fair trial or not. Maybe he was just labeled a bad guy because the United States government, being the asshole prick motherfuckers they are, just wanted to kill him and teach people a lesson around the world like, don't fuck with us, we'll have you hung. We'll murder you. We'll trump up some charges and, can't stretch your neck. Or shoot you or have yourself killed by some lunatics running around in, like in Libya with that Gaddafi guy. Don't fuck with us. We're bad. We'll hurt you. I don't want to get into that. The point is, if you think that I'm sorry, judging people is an inherent, instinctive capacity that every human being should have and should develop from the day they're born. And we should encourage that. But in America today, it's like, let's just ignore that instinctive quality in our brain, that capacity to actually make good judgments about people who may be bad, evil, and could harm us. I mean, for example, I have to make a judgment about policemen or judges and those kind of people because the fact is, a lot of them are bad people. And I have a tendency to think that anybody who's a policeman is a bad person because if you were a good person, you wouldn't be a fucking policeman in today's America. Because today's America is the whole police force, the whole judicial system is so corrupt, so evil, so anti-freedom, and so anti-law and order. Well, that law and order business is really fucked up. We won't get into that. But law, not order. Law and order, that means everybody do what they're told and shut up. And don't do anything that we tell you not to, and so on. That just, law and order is a farcical phrase. Sort of like law enforcement, which is, a Taliban phrase, and, something that the Gestapo was called back in these days of Nazi Germany, what do we got here? We got, who's in charge of law enforcement? The Gestapo. Or the Taliban, they go around and, enforce Sharia law on people walking down the street and beat them and shit. That's not the kind of way you should have. That's not the way it should be in a free country like America. Like America should be, since it's supposed to be. It's the whole premise. Free country. Do what you want. Don't hurt anybody else. You're fine. And whenever you say hurt, I mean like physically violate their right. Not to be raped or murdered or robbed or whatever. Defrauded. Lied to by government, by the way, which is a crime. If the government lies to you, they're criminals and they deserve, removed from office. And if anybody is hurt as a result, really, if somebody is physically or mentally or let's just say physically harmed by government action, the people that committed that action are criminals, committed a crime against humanity, even if it was just one person, and that person deserves to be, you know what I mean? Like on a rope. Seriously. I'm not kidding around here. I'm tired of these bastards getting away with murder. So anyway, law enforcement is not an American phrase, and they've conditioned people into believing that it means something, but it's not. It's like the word entrapment. There's a lot of entrapment today, and it's a crime. It is a crime. The court ruled that it's a crime to entrap people, for policemen to entrap people. Seriously. You young folks that have been born after the year, 1990 or so, you probably never heard of that. In fact, entrapment's probably not even a word you're familiar with. If you're born after 2000 or so, you're like, I don't know what's that mean, entrapment? You probably don't even know that word. You probably never heard of it. Unless you listen to the older folks like me, who have a brain and function like, it's supposed to. Entrapment. Back in the old days, police were entrapping people. And it was bad because the Constitution says, you can't be doing that. You're not allowed. Government is not allowed to do that. Police are not allowed to do that. So the court rules that entrapment is not allowed, and police officers around the country of America will no longer use the tactic of entrapment in any case whatsoever. And if you do, the case will be thrown out of court because the lawyer just have them say, they entrapped my client, Your Honor, and then the judge will say, well, then case dismissed because they're not allowed to do that. That makes their case against the person that they have accused or arrested invalid and bogus, and you can't pursue it. They have to let them go. Now, a lot of people, that's a loophole. No, that's a protection against fucking maniacs calling themselves cops entrapping people. There's a lot of that going on today in the so-called terrorist business, whereas they entrap people into becoming terrorists, entrap them in a situation that, we're going to arrest you for being a terrorist now because you're planning to blow up a building or something. It's another, and then let's not even think about the fact that the cops gave them the bombs and materials and helped them and encouraged them and said, blow up the building, blow up the building. And then when they go to think about blowing up a building, and, you're under arrest for thinking about blowing up a building. You're a terrorist. You see? So the cops entrapped them and set them up and did that and made them, encouraged them, and participated in that as undercover fucking rat-fink motherfuckers. So anyway, the law said, oh, you can't entrap people anymore. It's against the law. Can't do it. And all those people that were entrapped in the past, you've got to let them off because they didn't. You can't do that. It's against the law. Let's understand this. When the government breaks the law that is made for them, like the Constitution, for example, when you break that law, you've committed treason. And that means you shouldn't be a cop anymore. And you shouldn't be shouldn't have any power over other people ever again. You should be, from now on, you're banned from government, any kind of government at all. It means you can't run for senator or mayor or governor or president or anything. You committed a crime, you're done. No more. Not allowed. You can start a business like a hot dog stand, or if you're a lawyer person, you can be a lawyer or whatever. Continue to be a truck driver, whatever your job might be. But, if you're in government, you can't, you're done. You're finished. You committed treason. You're out of there. If you committed a felony, like murdered somebody or robbed somebody or committed some sort of criminal treasonous act, like robbed somebody of their money and called it an income tax, which is a crime because there is no law making anybody in America liable for an income tax except corporations. And here's the thing, you're going to argue with me about this. And I'm listening. Listen to me. No, I just told you a fact. That's true. It's not debatable. Look it up. It's not in the law. Doesn't exist. Anyway, we're talking about entrapment. Oh, by the way, income tax, shattering the myths, Dave Champion, get the book, read the book, and you will know something. You'll be intelligent and educated at the same time. Well, I don't know about intelligent, but at least you'll be educated. You will be knowledgeable about the truth about the income tax, which doesn't apply to individuals. And there are various laws that says so, and various rulings by the courts that are law now, because they haven't been overturned, and won't be because you can't overturn what's true. So, anyway, get the book, read it. Might cost you a few bucks. You might find somebody that has one, borrow it from them, read it, know it. Learn. Be educated. Be enlightened about the government thievery that's been going on for over 100 years in America. Greatest financial crime in American history. And that makes the IRS and those people and even senators that don't want to admit that this is a crime are traitors and criminals and deserve to be removed from office, tried, convicted, and I'm guessing if you hurt anybody in the process, like put someone in prison for not paying your income tax, then you've committed a crime, you've hurt somebody, you need to be executed. Seriously. I mean that. Really. And so anyway, moving on. Back to entrapment. See, I kind of go here, go there, go there. It's all important. It all means something. It's all something you should absorb in your brain, and if you get confused, just play this over again and stop it here and there, and then memorize and try to put it in your brain and think. Use your brain. Think. Pretend like you have an IQ of at least 110 or 100 or something. Something normal. Functioning brain, So entrapment is not allowed. So entrapment is going on, and entrapment is a crime. So the courts ruled. You can't be going around, coppers, police persons. You can't be going around entrapping people. It's not allowed. It's against the law. You can't do it anymore. So what did they do? What did the cops do? What did the government, in its wisdom, do? Stop using the word entrapment. and being the pussies that lawyers are, they stopped thinking in terms of entrapment. They just said, oh, we're not going to think about that anymore. We're just going to put that word aside and forget about it. Even though it's the same thing, they're still doing it. They just changed the word to a sting operation. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying that sting operation, or a sting where they entrap somebody, it's the same crime. The sting is a crime. It's just another way of saying entrapment. Because apparently when they ruled against using entrapment as a tactic to entrap innocent people, usually, or even guilty people if that's the case, because you can't entrap guilty people either, because it's a crime to entrap them. And if you go to court, back in those days, when there was a little bit of sanity still left in America, my client was entrapped by the police, and then the judge would say, okay, you're free to go, no charges. Because the police committed a crime, and therefore their arrest of you is invalid. And, of course, if you did entrap somebody as a policeman, then you should probably lose your job because you committed a crime. And a crime, it's like a felony. It's like, crime against humanity. You don't get to be a cop anymore after you've done that. Which was an incentive for them not to do that, because if you got caught entrapping people, you got put in jail. I don't know how many cops went to jail for entrapping people, but they usually just got a reprimand, I suppose. You're like, hey, you did a bad thing, and the guy got to walk free because you're a fucking asshole and an idiot and did what you weren't supposed to do. Well, he told you not to do it. You did it anyway. So, we'll just demote you for a couple of days or something. Take a vacation. When the fact is, if they entrapped somebody, they should have been fired and convicted of crime and, put in prison or, executed if it was something that hurt somebody. Like where somebody actually got killed or physically injured. Or their reputation was damaged. Like, oh, you're a... I'm not going to go there. So anyway, entrapment became sting operation. It's the same thing. It's still illegal. So a sting operation now is, we'll just call it something else and it'll be okay, and no one will even remember that it was a crime. So the court should probably upgrade their ruling and include the word sting operation, because it's the same thing as entrapment. Are we clear on this? All right. Oh, by the way, there are people that are out there, maybe listening, maybe not, that are saying, we need to get these criminals one way or another, and it doesn't matter how we do it. We can break the law and violate their rights and every damn thing because they're bad guys. We need to get them off the street. Well, the good guys have got to act like good guys. If you're going to act like the bad guy, you're no better than the bad guy. So, stop being a criminal. If you want to arrest the bad guys, then do it legally and do it with, the good guy attitude and use good tactics, not criminal tactics. So don't entrap people, you bastards. And they're not going to stop doing it just because I said so, but, personally, I think every American should be aware of this, and that's why I'm telling you. And I would wish that everybody in America could hear this radio show and this episode, because it's important that we understand that the government is committing a crime against people, innocent people, and perhaps guilty people, but it's better that a guilty person go free than we murder an innocent person. I'm sorry. So, no entrapment, not allowed. All right, I'm going to quit here. Kind of run out of steam, and I've been pushing it anyway since I'm kind of like hitting on 4 cylinders anyhow, and just not in best form today. Did a good job. I tried. I did my best. It's okay. Catch you later. This is D. McClung, Art to Monologues. It's Tuesday, January 17th, 2017. A day that will live in the memories of some and be forgotten by others. Catch you later.